Hey, this is Nick from Income Digs, and welcome back to our series on using QuickBooks Online for your real estate investing business. This is Module 6, where we bring it all together with reports and advanced functionality. And I'll remind you that if you want to get into the details and see everything, our end-to-end course for tracking and using QuickBooks Online for your real estate investing business, check out Real Estate Accounting Bootcamp. But let's get into Module 6 here. Again, reports and advanced functionality. This is my favorite module by far. This is because we bring it all together. All the hard work we've done on the previous modules comes together with this module here. And specifically what we're thinking about is superpowering QuickBooks. That's right. So QuickBooks is an amazing tool that wasn't built specifically for real estate investing, but if we do all the steps we talked about in the first 5 modules, in Module 6 we can bring it all together with some amazing functionality, reports and advanced functionality. So we're going to talk about 3 specific things on this lesson. First is embracing and customizing our reports. Okay, so reports are out there and they can be daunting, and often we click on a report and it doesn't give us the information we need immediately, and so we kind of forget about it and we don't come back to it. And if you're a bookkeeper or you're a business owner, you need reports, and you need reports to be accurate. That's the reason we're doing this. Your balance sheet, your profit and loss, the reason we set it up the right way, the reason we spent a lot of time thinking about our chart of accounts and our classes and our customers, all of that we talked about modules 1 through 5 is so that we can deliver amazing financial reports for ourselves, our business, and our clients. Second is built-in budgeting. I'm going to show you that on QuickBooks Online Plus and beyond. We can use a budgeting function where QuickBooks is going to do a lot of the work for you, pulling previous information, allowing you to create a budget that you can then track your actuals off of. Something we should all be doing, but it's often not done because it's difficult and it's really tedious to do if we're not using the right tool. Lastly, we're going to talk about the Performance Center and cash flow management, some advanced functionality that you get with QuickBooks Online. I want to make sure we understand what that is and how we can create a nice little dashboard for ourselves and our business. All right, so let's get into a lot of demos here. I'm going to get cranking right away. Let's talk about reports. Why are reports essential? Everything we do on the setup, as I mentioned, is so that we can get to this point in time where we can create real-time reports on the back end. This is the whole reason for everything we've done. The reports, that's the information that you as a business owner or you as the bookkeeper must deliver to yourself, to key stakeholders. That's what we're after the entire time. We can customize and save reports so that it fits our process flow. Okay, so again, out of the box, our reports that QuickBooks gives to us, it might not be perfect for us in our business yet, but we can and we should edit those reports, customize them, and save them for future use, and even set up process flows whereby they're immediately sent to those who need them. Keep investors and stakeholders informed with management reports. So this is an advanced functionality within QuickBooks Online Plus. I want to show you how that works as well. Let's get into it within QuickBooks. So we should all know where reports exist. There's a nice little reports thing here on the side here. So if I click on reports, this is where I'm brought to start. And you're going to be defaulted to the standard reports tab. And this is a perfect place to start. This is where you're going to see all of the reports that QuickBooks Online has created for you out of the box. And there's a lot of them. What it comes down to, there's really only two real main ones. It's profit and loss and it's balance sheet. And then there's some derivative of those, transaction reports. There's also a cash flow report, which is really, really useful. The thing that I want you to know, though, is that you don't need to use all these reports. You certainly don't need to use all these reports initially, okay? So I want you to really pick and choose what is important to you. And I want you to start with the standards, okay? And what I mean by that is profit and loss right here. Balance sheet's going to be one, and I like statement of cash flows as well, and I would star those. I think that those should be up there. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you're going to customize reports, and you're not going to really come to standard anymore. You're going to go to your custom reports. But let's just grab one. Let's do a profit and loss. Now, this sample set of books is some garbage data, current day. If I go back in time, I bet you I got a good one, 2022 or something like that. Let me just try that. So 1/1/2022, 12/31/2022. Let me just see what my report looks like. It's a little bit better looking at a profit and loss. So what I want you to do is you take that profit and loss, and that's great. You notice that the date's defaulted to a certain time period. Now, what you should do when you prepare to save your reports is make sure that your reporting period is dynamic. What I mean by that is it's not specified. I've specified this to demonstrate to you, but you want to keep it dynamic where it's like this week, this month, this quarter, and probably more often than not, you're going to pull a report that's this year to date. Maybe a this year to date with a columns by months would maybe be a really standard, good-looking report that would be helpful for you. Now, this one, for again, this garbage data is not going to look too great, but here's that report. Once we have an idea, this is a report I want to see on a semi-regular basis, let's start to save and customize that report. And you can do it multiple times. Think about saving often when you're working on different things on your computer. I'm going to save this by clicking Save Customization. And here's my profit and loss as the name. And I'm just going to say year to date by month. Okay. Now we can add this to a report group. I'll talk about that in a second, but I'm just going to save that and it's there. It's good, ready for me now. Okay. And now what I should do, I should think about what else I need in this report. So for example, I don't like to see cents maybe, right? So I might go to customize here and do without cents. Okay, that might be valuable to me to kind of just clean this thing up a little bit. Once I make that change, save customization again. If I don't change the name of it at all, it's just going to overwrite the work I've done previously, okay? Which is exactly how I want it to work. All right, we can also adjust the naming here. We can decide to add a logo if we want to. And any of those customizations, every time I make that change, I'm going to make and save that. What's cool about this being dynamic is that as I fast forward, I'm recording this video on 10/28/24. As I move forward into November, it's going to pick up that new date. Okay, if we keep it locked in to be, custom dates like I was doing before, 1/1/2022 to 12/31/2022, that report's always going to report on those dates no matter when we are doing that report. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as you are planning them out. Okay, and you can of course have multiple of these. There's no rule that says here's the only profit and loss you can ever have. So what you might want to do is when we save this customization is maybe we want to create a new group that's like income statements. Okay, so I'll create that group called income statements. I'll add it to this group, this one that I just created. Okay, now what if I wanted a more summary level of this exact report, right? Maybe I just want it to be this year to date without months at all. I just want the total. Okay, and I can go ahead and do that, and I can save this report year to date total, not by month anymore, and I'm going to put it to the exact same income statements. And then another thing we want to think about when potentially customizing our reports is taking this and doing a comparison. So that comparison can either be to previous years or previous period data, or we can also do percentage of income, percentage of rows, etc. I love doing a percent of income. I think that's an amazing metric for us to follow within our business. Okay, so this right here, this shows me my income, my cost of goods sold, and my other income, all this stuff, and my net income. And I think these percentages are a really good place for you as a business owner or a bookkeeper to deliver to the business owner really good information to understand how we're doing. These are usually good benchmarks. My cost of goods sold should be X, here it is at Y, and we want to be able to track that. So I might want to save this customization. This is my total percent of revenue. Okay, and as you start to save reports, now when you go to do your reports, if I go back to my reports list, I'm going to have my custom reports here. This is probably where you're going to go more often. And that group that I just created, that income statements, they all show up right here. Okay, and so I have a nice little grouping that helps me understand what's going on. All right, and what I love about this, we talk also about potentially automating your processes or simplifying your processes. What I can do with all these income statements or whatever my report group is, maybe I create a report group that's balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, whatever that is. I notice here it says scheduled. I can set this whole group up to email to someone, either myself, if I don't want to necessarily log into QuickBooks to see it. I actually do this for myself personally. I do a monthly report out that shows me a PDF of some of this information. I'm going to have monthly, every first day of every month. Okay, I'm going to send an email to myself or to a stakeholder, to a business partner, whomever. All right, now one little idea would be, you're going to send it every 1 month. Maybe have your reporting period be like up to last month and then do it on like the 10th of the month or the 5th of the month. What that would allow you to do is to ensure that you are caught up, because we know that QuickBooks and we're often lagging on getting transactions added. So we don't necessarily want to send it on the 1st of the month because we might need some time. Our bookkeeper might need some time to get things aligned, right? But you can set that up and really create a cool process for yourselves. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about on reports here is management reports. This is a function on QuickBooks Online Plus and beyond, and it's really, really powerful. This takes the reporting and allows you to generate this really nice looking PDF report that's really well suited for outside use, okay? So that is typically other investors, outside stakeholders, people who need to know the financials. One, they're probably not going to be logging into QuickBooks, and two, they might need a little bit of guidance as to what the heck they're looking at. So these management reports are really, really good, and QuickBooks is gonna give you 2 of them to start, and you can click into these reports and then to start to edit them. So it's really cool. It gives you a cover page and a template that you can edit, like what you want it to look like, whether you include the logo or not, what you want it to be called, what the reporting period is. There's a table of contents. There's a preliminary pages where you can put a lot of disclosure information, a lot of legal stuff, right? So if you have some kind of syndication or you have some kind of arrangement where you want to make sure they understand how to use these reports, you can put that here. And then we're going to pull in different reports. What's cool about this is we can bring in your standard reports. We could also bring in a custom report. Okay, so I can bring in those income statements, total percent of revenue. I can bring that in, and the date is going to be dynamic as well. It's really important that these dates are dynamic. Okay, and you can kind of save this and move on. And then endnotes, same kind of thing as the notes in there. So we kind of give a shell of what the management report's going to look like, and then we pull in the reports we want it to show as well, and then we can look at it. I think the preview is looking right like this. Okay, so I don't have anything in there yet. So it looks like I don't have any reports in there yet either for this year to date. I guess that's my issue. Let me show you on a different one. I will do that. But management reports really, really useful. And then what you can do with this same kind of thing is you can export this as you need to. And here we can do, let me see if like last year works for this one. Yeah, I still don't have any data in there, so it's not going to look great, but you can set up that reporting period. And then what I do with these is I export to a PDF and then send it to key stakeholders within my business. So just a little bit more previewing on reports. If I go to reports here, you can see a few more that are useful. So like a P&L year-to-date total. All right, this is something where I'm going to be looking at, and I like it how it starts off collapsed. I can see a total income. I can see cost of goods sold, expenses, and ultimately profit at the end there. Okay, and again, we're tracking to see how should we be doing. All right, so that's reports. I want you to embrace reports. You and your clients absolutely need to understand what your financials are, and reports are the best way to get that information. Budget considerations. So we are able to create budgets in QuickBooks Online. Comes with some caveats, but let's talk about exactly what we can do. They're great for high-level planning and forecasting, okay? So understanding totally as a business, what do we expect to do in a certain time period? We don't want to dive too far into details. We don't want to spend too much time here. These are estimates, right? Budgets are estimates. We certainly want to spend some time here, but diving into a really specific account and a really specific budget for that account is often not a great return on your time. And lastly, project-specific budgets must live elsewhere. Now, there is some work being done in QuickBooks Online Advanced to do budget-specific to projects, and it's okay. It's not perfect, in my opinion. I'm typically doing this outside of QuickBooks for now. I'm either doing it in Excel, Google Sheets for my investment properties, or for my building and remodeling projects, I'm using Buildertrend for this. So keep that in mind, that the budget for, in terms of what QuickBooks offers you within their functionality is typically for the greater business, the greater entire business as a whole. All right, so let's see that in action in QuickBooks. We're going to get to our budget. There's a few different ways that we can do that. One thing that we can do is up here, we have budgeting. Okay, so our budgeting tool, that's one way that we can get there. All right, so I'm going to go to that budgeting tool here, and I have some budgets that have been created. I'm going to create a budget right here. And I encourage you to do it from QuickBooks data, especially if you have years and years of QuickBooks information. It's typically a good idea to create a budget. What type of budget would you like to create? Profit and loss or balance sheet? Consolidated or subdivided? So subdivided is interesting. We could potentially subdivide by class. Here's the reason I don't love doing this. The main reason is because of the date period. Okay, so on the surface it looks like, oh great, I can subdivide by class. That's really useful. But because of the date period, most of our flips, most of our projects or renovations have the potential to span over multiple fiscal years. We start something in November, we finish it in March. So subdividing your budget is not that great of an idea. Only if you want to subdivide that budget and say like, I'm going to spend this much on this project in this year or this fiscal period. Okay. So I'm not going to subdivide this. I don't find that so useful. Pre-filling data is a really good tool. We can find some information from past months and years. I'm going to grab actuals from 2020. So QuickBooks is going to start bringing in information, whatever happened in the past, and then you can take those budget totals and decide how you want to use that information. So one quick thing you can do is you can take like the rental income that you got from that year that you're comparing against. You click this button and it's going to divide by 12 across each month. Really kind of awesome, right? We also don't need to necessarily budget by month. We could do yearly if it makes more sense. Okay, but you have the opportunity now to take the past information that we have here, our actuals, and decide how to do your budgets. Now, you don't have to use the actuals to pre-fill across the side. So if we know, for example, that we're going to spend X dollars on property insurance, or we think that our budget for property insurance should be $6,000 for the year, I can put in $6,000 for the year and then click that button, and it's going to give me the 500 across as well. All right, so we can go in here and kind of do that. Now, of course, we don't want to necessarily just use the exacts from previous years. In fact, I never do. I might take that 135 knowing that I had a little bit of an increase in rents, and I might say, hey, 145 is going to go across. And I would do that too. I would keep these kind of tight, and general, I'd round up on these as well. So this 34,304, even if I think that's going to be about the same, I might do 34,500. Repairs and maintenance might go up to 7,500, and copy that across. My property taxes, I'm generally going to be very conservative with this and just increase them a little bit so that I can kind of budget the appropriate way. And that's going to give me my total net income. And then we can save that budget and report against it, which is really exciting. So if I go over to another set of books, let me just see if I have that kind of ready to go. So if we have a budget, something like, actually, let me show you, let me create a budget, something a little bit better here. More numbers on it. Yeah, you can see more numbers on it is usually a little better. We might even actually have some things by month, which is really helpful. So we can save that, and then we can report against that, which is so powerful. So throughout the year, you can run a report to say, how am I doing against this budget? Here's this fiscal year 24. So I can run budget versus actuals report. Now, something to keep in mind, if you're running this type of report during the year, you have to think about, should the dates be for the whole year or not? So I'm recording this in October. We haven't reached the full year yet. So we're just going to do this year to date is going to be more valuable to us, right? So let's do this year to date. Let that happen. And then we can save this as well. Okay, so we can save these budget reports. This is helpful as well. All right, so reports and budgets are a facet of that. Really super valuable. All right, so now let's get into the other two items here that we're going to talk about, which are some advanced techniques, Performance Center and cash flow management. Okay, relatively new in terms of QuickBooks Online. They've been making some really cool changes to them. The Performance Center is an area where I want you to think about creating some kind of dashboard for yourself and your business. So when you log in, can we see some in-your-face, nice-looking reports that help us understand how our business is doing? That's what the Performance Center does. Again, pre-created reports are here for you. Okay, and then we can edit this layout, and we can edit the types of reports that are in here. So I can click and move them around, and of course I can add new reports as well. So if I want to add a new chart to this, I can say I'm interested in seeing my revenue. I'm interested in seeing that revenue year to date. Okay, I want to potentially group by a certain class or project, and maybe even filter as well. I think comparing is a good idea. Previous year, same period, or previous period. And then you can see that on your dashboard. So I've just created that, then I can click it and move it around. So I want you to think about how this might benefit you and your business, right? So maybe a report of your rental properties, profitability over time. Let me show you another example of this. Okay, so if I go to Performance Center here, this is a Performance Center. There's not much in there yet. Let's create a few new charts here. One thing that's cool is the quick ratio and the current ratio. That's a cash flow metric. Okay, so I'll add that in. Oh, I think I actually already did have that one. Here's my net profit, my gross profit. Maybe I want revenue. Let me just grab revenue over time. Okay, this year to date sounds good. I don't really want to filter it, but maybe I want to compare to previous year, same period. Okay, so there's my total revenue, and I'm comparing against 2023. Okay, so we can kind of see what that trend looks like. So take your time with these reports as well. Give yourself and your other stakeholders a nice dashboard off of which you can kind of see how you're doing. All right, there's a Performance Center. And lastly, I want to talk about cash flow management. So this is a super important tool that if we can do this within QuickBooks, we're gaining a ton as far as data accuracy. So your cash flow planner, okay, is right here. And what QuickBooks is attempting to do with the cash flow planner is it's saying, here's how much cash you literally have in your bank account as of right now. That's kind of an easy starting point. That's off your balance sheet. This is your QuickBooks balance, not your bank balance. So keep that in mind. This kind of implies or assumes that you have reconciled your accounts and that your QuickBooks balance is accurate. So this is my QuickBooks balance of cash. And then what it's going to do is going to forecast out what I expect to pay out, okay? So upcoming invoices is money coming in. Money coming out would be bills that I have to pay, okay? And this is all going into a cash flow projection that says, with everything that we know so far, here's what we anticipate your cash flow to do over time. Okay, so this shows a negative cash flow trend, obviously, right? So the system may or may not have all the money that it needs, or all the information that it needs, really. That's where the planner can come into play. So the planner is kind of the back end of all this stuff. The cash flow is your high level. The planner is where you get to go inside and see what's going on. So below here is all the stuff that QuickBooks is assuming is going to happen. So I got City of Buffalo I'm paying, I got M&T Bank, City of Buffalo again. These are expense types that are probably coming from recurring transactions, okay? So we can now filter this report and add some information to it. So one thing we should think about is like recurring transactions, right? So if we have recurring transactions, maybe recurring rent transactions, we can have those have an impact as well. The couple that are in there right now are the City of Buffalo and that M&T Bank one are already in there. Okay, so if we go back to our planner, so we can either use recurring transactions or it's also going to see potential data trends. Okay, and we can also add items. Okay, so if I know that I have a big loan coming in, I'm going to get some financing. Incoming financing is going to be $50,000. This is currently planned. I save that, and that's going to impact my cash flow. Okay, maybe we have some kind of owner's call that happens, once a month, right? Owner's investment. Maybe it's $15,000, and it's repeating. We do it every single month on the 5th day of the month. Okay. That's going to also increase our cash. You can see that happening. Now we might have the opposite. Okay, we might have some draws going out. Okay, owner draws. Maybe that's repeating as well. Go monthly. Maybe that's every 3 months. Okay, and we do that for $25,000 every 3 months. Whatever, I'm not really sure. We add that in there, and that's going to decrease our cash. Actually, yep, money out, right? Okay, so this is a really cool way for you to understand what might be going on in your business. Now, QuickBooks is also great on AI is coming in, right, as well. So they're tracking your trends, and they're going to have suggestions here of like, hey, we think you're probably going to spend this much money on these various different areas as well. If I go over to this one, you can see in my planner here, we have some things that are kind of assumed and planned, some expenses that might happen. I don't know if there's any AI ones here. It doesn't look like it in that one either, but it does a really good job at that as those are coming in. The other thing it does is we have overdue transactions. Now, there's nothing that QuickBooks is doing with these yet because the dates are in the past. For whatever reason, we either didn't get this cash yet or we didn't spend this cash. So we need to do something with these. So this is a task to do where you would take an invoice and you would push it out or pull it in or do something with it as well. All right. So cash flow management is a really cool place to come in. Use the system, use everything that QuickBooks is giving to you. Use your brain too as the key stakeholder and add things and edit things and see how your cash flow is going to project out. See if you can afford that owner draw. See if you can afford that investment or if you need some financing as well. All right, we're actually still just scratching the surface. QuickBooks can do so much more. So I already see like a bonus coming. But again, if you want to see everything end to end, check out our course, Real Estate Accounting Bootcamp. We're going to draw Module 6 to an end here, but as I mentioned, probably have some bonus content as well. I really appreciate you tuning in for this and all the modules we had on QuickBooks for real estate investing. It truly is an amazing tool for this industry. And if you as a business owner have it, you're in the right place. If you're a bookkeeper, this is an amazing niche for you to be in. If you have a lot of the information that we're talking about here, you're going to be in really good shape moving forward. I look forward to your comments. Ask me anything about this video or the others. Let me know what you might want to see in a bonus coming up, maybe Module 7, things that we haven't covered. So we'll certainly do that. Check out all the free resources available at incomedigs.com, and I'll see you on the next video.